Okay, so we're going to continue this video, and this is our key ideas of the net of a triangular prism, and we have one example, it's example 2. So I wanted to do this separately because there's really two separate things to remember. A triangular prism is a prism with triangular bases, so that's what's going to make, that's how you're going to tell if it's a triangular prism. So let's start off with what it looks like and what it would look like flattened, and then we'll find the surface area of one. So here's the first drawing. So this shape is a triangular prism, and we know that because this base and this base are the same, and that's what makes them, how we get the name the triangular prism. So those two bases are the same, so we can just label them. That's the base, the back one is also the base. Okay, and now if we're going to unfold it, we have to think of it like this. Where is the bottom of this triangle? So I'm going to outline that in blue. This is my outline. It's really a rectangle. So I'm going to start with that over here as I unfold it. What does my side look like? So if I have to envision taking this and looking at what my side looks like and turning the whole triangle, the triangular prism I should say, if I turned it, we still have what appears to be a rectangle. So I'm going to make it that if this side were to pop down and this side were to pop down, I would have a side over here and I would have a side over here. Then my two bases would unfold. Let me erase this so it's not too much here. Then my two sides would unfold, or my bases would unfold. And the way they would unfold is they would come this way. And they'd go out that way. Which would kind of be like this. And sometimes it's hard to envision because our triangles are a little off, but something very similar to that. So this would be my front. This would be my bottom. This would be a side, and the back. And I mean, you could kind of label them. However you label them, just make sure that's how you write them out as you're going to do the surface area. So this would be how you would unfold it. And again, in the class we have shapes that we can actually see this done with. So our directions, for example 2, finding the surface area of a triangular prism would just be as simple as find the surface area of the triangular prism. So I'm going to give you a triangular prism, we're going to put out the net, and then we're going to solve what the surface area would be. Remember, surface area is measured in square centimeters, feet, but it's in the units are squared. Okay, the triangular prism that I've given you, you have to realize what is what as far as the lines go. So this line here is 8 centimeters. This would be my height, which is 5 centimeters. Then we have a length of this triangle, which happens to be 12 centimeters. And then you have this length of this rectangle. If you see this rectangle here, kind of looks like a parallelogram, but it's actually a rectangle if you were to turn it. That length here is 13 centimeters, which if this is 8, obviously this is 8 as well. So I'm going to erase all my lines. And then we're going to unfold this so we can better see where the lines would go. It is a little hard to understand where and how it would be unfolded, but do your best to kind of see and try and visualize. If you're struggling with this, there is a way to do it rather than having the net unfolded, and it just takes some, really big, you have to kind of do some coloring to make sure that you're getting everything. But let's start with unfolding it. So as I go explaining what I did to flatten this, I want you to kind of pay attention. I'm going to erase as I go too. So I'm going to start with the side, which happens to be this area here that I'm unfolding. My side, it would be kind of like I flipped it down, and that would be right here. So if I flip that down, then I could talk about my bottom, which would be this one, which would already be on the table if you would. So this becomes my bottom. And then, let me erase that. If that's my bottom, and then the back of it here, which we could refer to as the side, this one right here would go like this. And that would be this right here. I'll just call it S for side. Then our triangles, those would be our triangular bases because it's a prism. This one and this one would both kind of fold out like this and like this. And those would be considered our back and our front. I'll put an F because it's kind of hard to write in there. So those would be, that's how it got put down, how it got folded out. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to put in the numbers so that we can find out the surface area of this entire triangular prism. So looking at it closely, if I'm talking about, let's start with our side, because this happens to be the side that we started with, right? If we started with that, if this length here is 13 centimeters, that means right here it would be 13 centimeters, because that's what that side that would be. That means obviously this would be 13 centimeters down here. Okay. Then this length here, we would have to compare because it would match this, which would match this, which would match this. We have to kind of be careful of that. So that means it's 8 centimeters on the end. If that's true, now we can look at what the length and width of this side would be. We already said that this is going to be 8 centimeters, and as you can see, this line is the same as this line over here. But what is this side here? Well, that would be our 5 centimeters that we find up there. Okay, now I'm going to do a little bit of erasing so it's not too much. And here. Now here comes a part that you really have to pay attention to. So now I have my triangles. Well, how big are my triangles? And we have to remember something. The area of a triangle is not length times width. The area of a triangle is 1/2 times the base times the height. So we have to put that into consideration when we start doing the surface area. So let's see. This area, or this length right here on our triangle would be this length right here. So that becomes 12. I'm going to put a little arrow and put 12 centimeters. Obviously that would be 12. Little arrow and 12 centimeters. The height of the triangle is the same height of our rectangle over there, so it becomes 5 centimeters. So we have the two measurements we need to plug in these two numbers. So we're set with those. Do we have enough information to find out what our bottom is? Yeah, this is 12 centimeters, and this line here would match this one here, so it would be 8 centimeters. So now we can start writing all of the formulas that we need to solve and find the total surface area. It's really important if you use a net that you're using words that you can, compare when you write them over here. So my bottom, I have to recognize that this is 12 centimeters and that this is 8 centimeters. So it's a 12 times 8 surface area. Then my front, okay, that would be my F here, would be a triangle. So I have to do 1/2 times my base, which happens to be 12 centimeters, times my height, which happens to be 5 centimeters. And then I know my exact back because it's the same exact formula and the same exact numbers. Okay. Now my two sides. The two sides are a little bit different. I've got two different, not formulas, but two different measurements. So this side, let's start right here. We've got an 8 by a 13. So we just have to do 8 times 13. The other side is much smaller. That's a 5 by 8. So we do 5 times 8. Now we solve them all. So 12 times 8 is 96. 1/2 times 12 is 6. 6 times 5 is 30. If that's true there, it's true here. We don't have to do extra math. And then 8 times 13 is 104. And then 5 times 8 is 40. Now, you might have to do a little side math and add them all up. Once we add them all up, the surface area equals 300 centimeters squared. And that's how you'd find the answer. Again, I told you there's a way to do it without using the net. If you do it, you just have to really kind of break it apart and say, okay, I'm dealing with this one right now. 8 times 5, write it off to the side. You know, then go ahead and erase what you're talking about, or what you just, you know, colored in. Let's do the triangle now. Now we do 1/2 times 12 times 5, and then erase, and so on. So there is a way to use it without the net. Some people might really enjoy using the net because you can really visualize it. It can be difficult though. So let's do a couple try-its and then you're all done with the 8.2. Alright, this is the first one. I just want to kind of point out what everything is here. So my length is 9 centimeters. Oops, right here. My height is 5 centimeters, and this width is 6 centimeters. You should be able to find out what all of the information that you need to do just from those 3 measurements. And then the second one, I'm sorry, this one is a rectangular prism. The second one will be a triangular prism. Alright, let me just explain what a couple of these measurements are. So down here is 8.6 feet. My height of my triangle is 6.3 feet. The length of this side, if you will, so if you see how it's kind of a side like this, that length is 10.3 feet. The height of that rectangle is 7.6 feet. So just to kind of help you see where those lines are showing, so you might have to refer back to that. Do your best. Remember, if you're really struggling on this, class time is the time to get help from me. I think you'll do great. If the net is just not working for you, I can show you a visual in class. I think that'll help. So anyway, the video is finished. Just kidding, I guess you need answers. So the answers for number 1 is 258 meters squared, and number 2 is a little tricky. You have to really line up those decimals when you're adding and whatnot. The answer is 299.32 feet squared.